listing property. This is working with sellers, and that's hopefully one of the first things you'll do is get a listing. The saying in this business is you want to list to last, because if you get a listing, you've got all of a sudden 1,000 other agents helping you sell it. It's not like a buyer. When you get a buyer, it's just you, and you're out working for these other agents that have a listing. If you've got a listing, you're going to get paid no matter who sells it. If you sell it or another agent calls you and they sell it, you still get paid. So that's where we want to start. Last week we worked on pricing and how to price a property. Now we're going to work on how we deal with the seller and how the listing process works, the things that we need to know to make the listing happen. So here are our learning objectives. How do we prepare for a listing appointment? We want to be able to give a listing presentation. We probably will not do that because we've only got a couple of people in here. But if we have time, we'll do a listing presentation. That's why I wanted you to go out and talk to for sale by owners to get ready for this class, so you can say, oh, I have talked to a seller and I understand what their concerns are now. Their main concern is probably commission. They don't want to pay the commission. So that's just part of it. We're going to look at some fair housing and antitrust laws that we covered in pre-license. And what do we got to do with property disclosure here in Alabama? Really not a whole lot. We don't have a seller disclosure form required in Alabama. A lot of states do. I think it's a great idea. It's just my opinion. It protects everybody. We got several sections we're going to work with tonight. RECAD. We beat RECAD up pretty bad in pre-license. Y'all know what that is. We know what the different transaction agency, we know what all these things are. We're going to look at them real faster tonight than we did pre-license. What do we want to ask the seller? Well, one of the first things you want to know is, why are you selling? Because that's going to really indicate their motivation. If they're selling because they're 3 months behind on the payment and they've lost their job, their motivation is going to be different from someone that just got a promotion and they want a bigger house. So if you can find out where they're coming from, you can do a better job of helping them get there. They can tell you more about their property than you'll ever discover on your own. Because one of the things you ask them is, when you're walking around the house with them, what is it about the house that made you want it? What is it you like about it? And they're going to tell you, oh, it was the view of the lake or whatever they've got a view of, or the location. They've got a reason. Well, the person you're going to be selling the house to may have those same reasons. They want a view, they want the school, and a lot of times it is the school. What kind of paperwork do we need to be having them get together for us for this listing? And then we're going to either send them a pre-listing packet or meet with them. Okay, RECAD, we're going to present our plan. Either we'll do it 2-on-2, or we'll figure out how we're going to do that. And what's going to stay with the property? Sometimes they're things like a pool table or a refrigerator. A lot of times they don't want to take the refrigerator with them. Sometimes they do. They just bought it last year. They're still making payments on it. They want to take that with them. We had a refrigerator stolen this week. And when I checked on the property, it's been sitting there empty. And somebody had kicked the door in. And a refrigerator, a lot of times you have to take the doors off of it to get it out the door. Well, they took crowbars and just took the door facing off the front door so they could get the refrigerator out. I'm telling you, it's a fun business.
It will be, isn't it?
Some fair housing. This is more from pre-license, just a review. Price fixing, we've talked about that. And then our seller disclosure. We don't have many disclosures in Alabama. So, why are you selling? Well, we just talked about it. Why do they want to sell? Well, it can be a lot of things. So if you can dig down and find out why they're selling, that'll give you more of their motivation. Some people just testing the market. We have them every now and then, they'll say, well, let's just see if it'll sell. Well, it's worth 200. They say, well, put it on for 220, and let's just see what happens. Those people are not real motivated, and you could even bring them an offer for 215, and they'll say, no, because they're not motivated.
Right.
They've got to have motivation if they're ever going to do anything. Time pressure, that comes into play long about June, July at the latest. They need to have something, a lease or a house in their hand so the kids can get in the certain school system. And that's a driving factor here, is what school system you're in. And then what remains of the property is probably going to be a refrigerator, stuff like that. Normally you don't talk about the appliances that are built in, like the dishwasher. No one ever takes a built-in dishwasher with them. But the stove, most of those are just plugged in. So are you going to leave the stove or take it? It's rare someone ever takes a stove, but not so rare about refrigerators. They'll take them because you're talking, a couple $1,000s, and if they're still making payments, they probably won't take it on will. We got to think about the property. We're going to get into that a little deeper as we start looking specifically at some. Now, what's the stuff you want the seller to get you? Well, I'd like to see the deed, because on a listing agreement, you need to have all the owners sign it. Sometimes we run into situations where someone will call us, I want to sell the house. Yeah, just got a divorce. Uh-oh, red flag should go up right there, because there's somebody else's name on that deed, and they may not be in the best terms right now. And we've had them. The other spouse said, I'm not signing nothing. Well, there's no point in you even going on a listing presentation if you've got that kind of dialogue. Y'all need to sort this out. You need to get probably a quit claim deed. We talked about those. That's where you just saying, I'm going to sign off to you, whatever I've got. I don't know if I've got anything, but signing it off to you. You may have to deal with that. Maybe some tax that you need to think about. Different areas in Birmingham have dramatically different tax rates. We've got some properties that just the property tax on it was $10,000 a year. That's a lot of money. Where you can get on another side of town and they're $200, $300, or $500 a year. So we're going to need to know what the taxes are when we start listing it. We got to have all that kind of information. If you can get the last title as well, the new title company may use the same title company, but the new title company may give you a discount if you can give them that front page of the title, because they only have to search back to there. Because the other title company is guaranteeing the title from their back. So they don't have to do as much work, and a lot of times you'll get a credit on it. Surveys. Now, sometimes surveys, you can use the old one, but sometimes the surveys are actually copyrighted and they belong to someone. So you may not be able to use that survey. Ask about that. Survey also if the property's got stuff going on, like you see a new fence. They just put up a privacy fence since they bought the house. Well, we probably need to see a survey now to see where is the fence. Is it on the line, inside? Is it on the neighbor's? I kid about that, but when the first neighborhood our family moved into, and we're all my age, and we decided we were going to put fences up, and we went out and bought a bunch of stuff. It was like 3 people all going to put fences up, and we just went out there and said, yeah, I think the line's right there. And we put the fence right there. And then when we sold the house, they actually surveyed it, and our fence was over on the neighbor's yard. And the guy that bought it said, that's all right with me. Okay, they could have said, move the fence.
Right.
So if you think it's an issue, go ahead and let's deal with it now before it is an issue. Because we were at closing when they showed me that survey. We got issues with HOAs. If y'all been in an HOA association, you know they got rules. So if this property is in an HOA, then let's get the rules right now, because you've got to give the rules to the purchaser. And we just talked about who needs to sign, maybe need a quick claim. Now, tax records. On our tax records, we'll get more information. So when you get into the multiple listing service, you'll be able to go in and look at that kind of stuff. You can pull up tax records. You can see who owned it, who does own it. You can see when it was sold, how much it was sold for. But one of the things you're looking for on there is the square footage. That's on the tax record. We didn't start putting square footage in the MLS here until, I'm going to say, 6 years ago. Prior to that, you just say, I don't know how big it is. It's big. It's 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Is that big enough? We're not allowed to measure. We've got to get our square footage either from the tax records, a builder's plan, an appraisal, or now the seller can give you the tax record, the square footage. So that's important now, because a lot of people look at the square footage as the price equalizer. Tax record, other fees. When we get into the MLS, it'll show us the other fees on there. We're going to get to one of those in a minute and show you where all this stuff is. Now, the records relating to ownership, we as agents don't really search these past owners. That's outside of our license. We only do things inside our little license box. The title company is going to do that. So as soon as you get an offer and a contract on this, then the first thing they're going to do is run it through the title search. And they're going to go back, and the title is everybody and every lien that has been on that property, and it just goes back and back and back and back. All right, now we know who owns it, and is there a problem with the title? And if there is, now's the time to get it fixed. Sometimes there are problems, and it'll usually be taxes, where somebody didn't pay their taxes, and then somebody bought the tax deed, and now you got to get that straightened out, and that's going to cost. All right, got surveys, HOA documents. What if you are looking at this house and you see a new room that's been added on? Because you can tell it's not quite like the rest of the house. When was that done? Did you have a permit for it? Uh-oh. No permit means no inspections, and the city may come in and say, you got to tear this off. Ouch. So find out if there's a new room, was it permitted? When was it permitted? Make sure you're able to sell that square footage. Yeah. Now, we start our search on the MLS. When somebody calls us and say, hey, I'd like for you to help me sell this property. Well, you're going to go into the MLS and you're going to start looking for things in there. There you're going to find the stuff maybe on this house where it was listed last time. If it's been listed, our records go back, I don't know, about 15, 20 years. So there's a lot of history in there you can see. Sometimes you'll look back. We were just looking at one a minute ago where it was on the market in 2007 and just stayed on the market. Well, 2007, everything stayed on the market. The market was crashing. Nobody wanted to buy anything. So stuff back in 2007 really don't apply to today. But if this house is sold maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago, it's going to have a lot of really good information that you can pull off. There'll be things like on there like what kind of heating system it is, just all kinds of things that we'll be able to gather up. You'll also be able to look at what has sold around this property. That's important too. Well, if everything in this neighborhood is kind of alike, kind of the same size, all built about the same time, don't you think they're gonna be about the same value? Most of it, you can equalize it with the square footage, because they're all probably gonna be about the same size too. So we can say, okay, here's a number I can work with. Sometimes you gotta get creative to figure out the price. It says up there probate records. I have never looked up probate records. Usually if there's a probate problem, that's the closing attorney's job. That's what he went to school to do. I went to school to sell real estate, not research probate records. But if they've got them, it may be something about it was an estate. What if there were 3 or 4 siblings that inherited this piece of property 5 years ago or so? Are they the ones that actually own it now? How about if one of them's died and their kids? How do we sort this out? That's over our pay grade. Let the attorneys figure this out and then say, here's what you got to do. Here's the people who got to sign off on it. And you want to look at the neighborhood. The big picture, we talked about this last week in pricing. The big picture, what's going on nationally and then locally and then right down to the neighborhood, what's going on. Now, what we do with our past sales, they say you want to go back about 6 months to look at what's sold around this property in the last 6 months to get an idea of what this one will be worth. Sometimes there's nothing sold in the last 6 months. You may need to go out a little further. You may have to look back a couple of years to find stuff that's sold around here. Well, from there you may have to work with that number to figure out how much prices have increased and come up with a value that you think is reasonable. What we're going to do is come up with a listing price, we call it. That's our best guess of what we think it's worth. Now, that may or may not be what it's going to sell for. Not likely. Sometimes they sell for listing price. If you've got it priced correctly, 2 or 3 people will rush in there and make offers on it, and you may sell it for more than you got it listed for. But it's rare you'll ever put a listing price on and just somebody will walk in and say, yeah, I'll give you that plus some. Usually it's going to say, yeah, I like that price. If it had gold fixtures and everything else is on the other side of town, I'm not going to pay that. That's more likely what you're going to see. We got market value. That's what we're going to come up with, that we think this is the price we should sell it for or market it for. Put it on the market to sell. That's usually the best case. That's the best we can hope for. And then somebody's going to come along and make an offer, and you'll negotiate, and then finally you'll come up with a price. That's actually the price. We've got value, price. Remember that from pre-license? Mm-hmm. The price is what it actually will sell for. Mm-hmm. The check was written for. Mm-hmm. Now, we can look at other things, because we're going to pull up our MLS and we're going to do like a neighborhood, and we can look at what's on the market now. That's usually not what I look at first. I want to look at what has sold around here in a little short period of time. Now, once I've got all that information, now I may go over and look at actives to see what our competition is. What does this one look like? Sometimes you have to convince the seller, well, your house doesn't have gold fixtures and all this stuff in it. Yours is really not the nicest one on the planet. We might need to go visit some of these other houses around you so you can, don't tell them, so you can get your head straight. But so we can see what our competition is. Yeah. And you can take them in I've done this, take them in a couple of other houses around there, and they say, oh, they've got new carpet and new paint and a new kitchen, and oh, ours hasn't been updated. We still got brass and glass. Well, that, in their mind, brass and glass is the greatest thing that ever happened. Before then, it was linoleum and those beads that hang.
Yeah. Way back.
Yeah, way back. Way back. But sometimes you got to get them on the same page as everybody else, because the buyers, are not just gonna go on Zillow or wherever they're going and pick your listing and say, I'm not gonna look at any of the others, I'm just gonna take this one. No, they're gonna look at everything else. So in addition to looking at those that are active, because that's gonna give you the maximum price for your market value, is what's active now. Then there's one other one we want to look at, and that's the expireds. These are the ones that were put on the market and stayed on the market until their listing term expired. Well, what does it tell you about that price? It's too high. Okay, well we can't price them up here. So we're gonna have to put all this into a bigger picture. Why homeowners sell? Let's don't jump out on the internet. Let's just stay right here. The reason they sell, why do you think? Relocating? Their jobs now somewhere else? How about their families grown? Their families shrank? Their kids are now in another city? Yeah, divorce, marriage. We want our kids in a different school zone. There's a lot of reasons people sell. Earlier I said, find out why, because their motivation is going to determine a lot of things. Well, their kids are off in another city. Well, they're not in too much time pressure. But if their job is in another city, time pressure is different. So you can, the more information you can get, the better job you're going to do. Okay, let's back up for a minute since we're talking about listing agreements, working with sellers. Y'all remember pre-license? It wasn't that long ago. You had to learn the types of agency we have in Alabama. Remember what they were? There they are, but I hope y'all remember.
Yeah.
When you first meet someone, you're going to go talk to a for sale by owner this week. That's your assignment. When you go talk to that for sale by owner, do you need to tell them you're a real estate agent?
Yes.
Yes, you do. You should actually give them this form, the RECAD form. I think we got it on here. That tells them how you can work with them. When you first meet them, do you have any relationship with them? No. So you are a transaction broker. I can help you do the transaction, but I can't give you any advice. That's where we're drawing the line. You want my advice? Then we've got to move to what?
To a
agency. Yes. And we'll be single agency because we're going to be working with just the seller right now. We're going to do listing, so we'll be single agent with that seller. Now, I like to, at this point, since we're going to have the listing, go ahead and have the dual agency form in there. Go ahead and sign this now. I'm going to explain it to you now that if we have a client, someone we have agency with as a buyer's agent, we'd like to be able to show them your house. Is that okay with you? What are they going to say? Yes, absolutely. Bring them on. Well, then you need to explain to them, okay, here's how we'll do that. We've got to be arm's length with both of you. I can't tell them anything to hurt you, but I can't tell you anything that'll hurt them. So that's our dual agency. The sub-agency here, don't worry about sub-agency. Sub-agency, every agent is a sub-agent under their broker. So that's what you need to know about sub-agency. Here in Alabama now, we have people that walk like a duck, they talk like a duck, they pretend they're a duck, and they start having advice just fall out of their mouth. Here's what I think you should do. You shouldn't offer this, let's do this. Well, you're giving advice then, which is agency level service. And if you don't have agency with them, what have you done? You're going to be ducked. Yeah. You're going to be in trouble because you're pretending to be their agent. And they rely on your advice and then they're harmed, who they coming after? You told me.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't have told you that because I didn't have agency with you. We were just transaction broker. I should have just helped you fill out. I should have said, what would you like to offer? And let's move on from there. Okay? Implied agency is fraud, so
That's
just
what I was thinking.
just don't do it. This is the agency disclosure form right here. Everybody in Alabama uses the same form. These have our hard questions on there. Remember our hard questions? We got to be honest, account for all funds. Y'all don't want to go back to pre-license now. You got to use reasonable care and disclose anything's got to be disclosed.
That's right.
You also must answer their questions truthfully, because remember, half truth, whole lie. It is. You must also disclose any interest you have in the property and transmit any offers immediately. Don't hold the offer back because you think you got a better one coming tomorrow. You need to go ahead and do the next sheet and get this one to them. Those are your duties, just to everyone. But since we're going to be moving into a listing agreement, I hope we're going to be doing agency with them. And it not be a flat fee minimum service listing. That's another can of worms. But we're going to do an agency listing with our folks. So we're going to have to salute the colonel. And that's C is confidentiality. O is obedience. And L is loyalty. You know, we're going to have a review session this weekend for the pre-licensed people. Going to be all day. Y'all want to go over agency again? This is a form that you're going to give them the first time you meet them. Somewhere before you start getting into confidential information, things that they might not want other people to know. You need to get this form out and give it to them. Now, I can tell you right now, you just met these people. They're not signing anything. Maybe some young folks you're just working with, and Mama told them, don't you sign anything till I read it. All right? Well, they don't have to sign this. This is just an information sheet. It says up on the top, it's not a contract. I think it says that up there somewhere. It's not a contract. This is just an information sheet that says, here's how we can work together. Now, once you get into the paperwork part of it, have one of these forms in there so they can sign it. Because this is one of the forms or pieces of paper you've got to have in the file. When the Real Estate Commission audits you, that's the first piece of paper they're looking for. Did you give them a RECAD form? If not, then we've violated some rules. So, if they won't sign it, you want to say, okay, that's fine, here's your copy of it, but you take another copy of it and put their name on it, and the date, and where you met them. Now you've got a paper trail. So later on, if you forget to get it signed, you've still got a piece of paper. Here's when it happened and all that. Okay, don't see anything else there. Our agency. When we're creating agency, it's a fiduciary. That's a special word in real estate and law that says, I owe you higher allegiance. I've got to put you before me. I'm not going to just show you all the properties that are at 5% commission. I'm going to show you what you need to see based on what you told me you want to see. You may even stumble across a for sale by owner that's not in our multiple listing, but it's on Zillow. They found it. They said, hey, I like this one. It's got a pool. Can we see it? What are you going to tell them? Absolutely. You want to see it? I'll make it happen. You may get cut out of the commission altogether here because it's a for sale by owner and they say, I'm not paying an agent. But you have a fiduciary duty to your buyer. I mean, you're buyer at that point. We're going to get into buyer tomorrow night, and we'll talk about how we get around these for sale by owner commissions. Okay, we are delegated just a little bit of authority. Not much, just a little. Remember, we're special agents. Special. Basically all we can do is we can call the other agent and say, hey, we'd like to see the house. Can we? Now you don't even call them anymore. Now it's a thing called showing time. You click on that and it brings up a calendar. You say, okay, there's where we want to go. You click on that and it sends an email to the other agent and they send you one back saying yes or no. They may say, well, you can't go then, but could you go this other time? It's so rare to even talk to another agent now. Everything's email, text, and it's different. We won't have general agent authority on our listings. That would be if you were like a property manager and you were managing this property and you need to take care of getting the grass cut and shrubs or whatever else has got to be done. But just to list someone's house for sale, you won't have that level of authority. You're just helping them sell it. You're marketing the property. Okay, got that bottom line. There's our transaction broker. So I should have had this one about 2 slides back. Sometimes I get in there and I'll add stuff and I'll forget to move this one back up. And there's the other one that went with it. There's a booklet that you can get off the Real Estate Commission's website on how you can work with us. It's 2 pages. This, know your rights. Are you a customer or client? What's the difference? And then there's another page to it that explains each of these ways that you can work with either a non-agency or agency. Limited consensual, we've talked about this. This is the whole rule right down here. In case of limited dual agency, we got to keep this wall up between the 2 of them. You can't hurt either one of them. You can't say, hey, they just won the lottery. They'll pay anything. They told me they would pay double what you're asking. You just hurt one of them, help the other one. You've got agency with both of them. And if you hurt this one, chances are their next phone call is going to be, Real Estate Commission, let me tell you what they just did to me. And you don't want to get a call from the Real Estate Commission and say, I just got a call from these people. Can you tell me more about this? Oh, so be careful with dual agency. Some states you're not even allowed to do dual agency. A lot of them handle it, and I kind of like the designated agency model, to where like if you had a listing and we had another client in the office with another agent, it'd be kind of like y'all are different companies. You'd be designated to represent this side and you this side, and y'all would go through the broker to kind of keep from ever crossing that line. Florida, you do dual agency in Florida, you just might as well mail your license back to them. They don't allow it down there. Got to be a reason.
Yeah.
So just be careful with dual agency. We talked about this. These are the things that we've got to do on our disclosures. First, we had to disclose our status as an agent with the recap form. Then we've got to submit all the offers timely. But before we submit that offer, we've got to create a net sheet. That's an estimated closing cost sheet for this price, this terms, everything about this deal. We have to do that. Send it along with the offer. Or we'd get it with their offer. When we got an offer, we would create one for our listing, because we're on the listing side right now. Also, what else we might need to disclose? Let's just say this house was built in 1950. We got anything like lead-based paint we need to grab, get that form out? Okay. There's also another, not form, but booklet that goes along with that. It's called the Protect Yourself from Lead-Based Paint, I believe it is, that you've got to give them that booklet, because y'all remember, lead-based paint, bad stuff. Bad stuff. You also must disclose any known material facts. All right, we got a kind of a gray area here. if you don't know about it, you don't have to discover it. But if you know about it, you've got to disclose it. If it's a material fact, then what's a material fact? To some people, the school system is a material fact. Somebody else, they could care less. So what's one? You don't make the decision on what's a material fact. In our listing agreement, there's a little clause in there that says that we can disclose things that we need to disclose. Sometimes the seller says, don't tell them that this community, half of it is in this wonderful school system, but then they built this other half later on, and it's in the county. Don't tell them ours is in the county. Well, or just right off, we got problems. They're wanting me to suppress a material fact, and you're going to tell them right now, I can't do that. I have got to disclose anything that may be a material fact to these folks. It'd be a material fact to just about anybody. I'm in the city or the county. We got a whole different level of services here. I can't call the city police or the city fire department. That's a big issue. So material fact to one person may not be to the other, but it's not up to you to decide what is a material fact. I should say, back on disclosure, known material facts or known things. You're walking across the floor in here and you hit a little soft spot in the carpet. And the seller says, oh, don't worry about that. That's where the termites are. Well, now you know about the termites. You can stand at the door and look in this room and you can't tell they're termites. But you have been given knowledge. You have actual knowledge of termites under there. You can't see them, but you know they're there. You better disclose it. Now, if it's a known, well, I'll say that was a latent defect. It's hidden. Patent defect is one you can see. Well, the termites have actually eaten through the carpet. Now there's just a big hole in the floor. And anybody can see that. You don't have to disclose that. They can see it themselves. And in Alabama, is a buyer beware state. You need to look at this property yourself or have an inspector look at it. Because if you don't, those are your termites now. Risk of not using an agent. A lot of things going on here, just right off knowledge. You've got special secret knowledge. Don't you? They think you do. And different sides want different knowledge. You're working with the seller, they want you to help them price the property correctly. So they don't have to have 15 open houses and keep this thing on the market 6 months because you said, well, I think we can get this much for it. When all your numbers are telling you, you should be priced here. Well, they're dependent on you to give them this real number so they can get out of this deal. They don't want it. And setting up for an open house, even a showing. I know some people, if they've just got a showing, they're going to clean that house like the Queen's coming. Because that's who's coming. And they're looking at everything. They haven't dusted over here in quite a while. Well, get it cleaned up before you put it on the market. So they're asking you things like that. What should I do? Well, you might want to clean up a little bit. These toilets in here, when was the last time you cleaned this toilet? Well, they don't even see it. You do. You walking through there and you say, okay, the blinds where the dog's been clawing on the blinds, the whole bottom's torn all to pieces. If you walk into this house to look at it to buy, and you see that, what are you going to do? What else you got? Replace the blinds. Got a broken window? Go ahead and fix it, because when the inspector comes through, you think he's going to find the blinds and find the broken window? He sure is. And the longer the inspector's list of things wrong with this house, you see the price going down, don't you? Everything he puts on that list knocks the price down. You can actually get a home inspection done before you put it on the market and catch all these things that you haven't noticed. Go ahead and get it done. And then when the next inspector comes through, he's still got to find stuff. They paid him $400 or $500 to walk through here and find stuff. Well, he's going to have to dig deeper to find things. But it won't be, the list won't be near as long. And inspections are the only reason I think people actually do inspections is to knock the price down. Because that's what their goal is. I'll give you this much for it, but as soon as we get the inspection, we're going to knock that down about $5,000. Because all these things, that's just a lot of wear and tear in here. Here's other wear and tear that I haven't even seen yet. So, a lot of reasons that they use us. We tell them these things. We help them. What else do they need to know from us? Well, the seller, oddly enough, the seller's not depending on you to negotiate for them. They've already got their mind made up. And you've shown them the prices and you've shown them what else is sold around here. They've got a little bitty range. Sometimes they'll say, I'm not taking a penny less than $150, and they get an offer for $140. They're going to counter. But it won't be $150. They'll adjust their expectations. But they're not depending on the sellers for negotiating skills. Their mind's already made up. Other side, we talk about buyers tomorrow night. They do. And that's one of the main reasons they hire us is for negotiating. Here are some of our disclosures. Advertising, fair housing. Remember our protected classes? I believe we got a slide on it coming up on protected classes. Lead-based paint, prior to '78, got to have a lead-based paint disclosure. That says there may be lead-based paint in this house. Also on that disclosure form, let me see if we got one. Yeah, there it is. Also on this, the purchaser or tenant has a 10-day opportunity to have their own lead-based paint test done. And if they've got small children, they probably don't even need to be looking at a house prior to 1978. They need to just let's don't go around lead-based paint, because the kids, once it's in them, it's in them. There's no reaching in there and scraping the lead out. It's in there and it will cause lots of bad things. That's why they've got an opportunity to check. They can waive that opportunity. Also get a booklet with it. This booklet, I think, has got about 20 pages of all the bad things with lead-based paint. I can't stress this enough. Lead-based paint is bad. But we're working on listings tonight. All we got to do is disclose. Well, the house was built in '75. All we got to do is fill out this form. Seller's going to check up here. They always done 1,000 of these. They always say, no, don't know anything about lead-based paint. Next one says, you got any records of it? Nope. Don't know anything about it, don't have any records. What else you want to know? Well, that's all there is. So as a selling agent or a listing agent, that's pretty much all we need to do. But if we're working with the buyer, we need to talk about lead more. Because, I mean, y'all remember, I got deep in it in pre-license because it is serious. Okay, we got, if we know, we got to talk. If we don't have to discover. Now, Alabama does not have a state-required seller disclosure form. The seller disclosure form is going to be something that says, all right, seller, how long have you lived here? What kind of work have you had done on the roof, the air conditioning, the plumbing? When, what? You want to pick apart as many things as you can. The Real Estate Commission has one on their website that you can pull off and use. The seller doesn't have to fill it out in Alabama. They can just say, nope. And if they do, you need to be saying, nope, we don't want to move forward with this, because they're trying to hide something from you. And if they won't tell you now, when you ask them nice, you know, tell me about the soft spot in the floor. What's going on down there? They're probably going to say, well, yeah, get your inspector to look at that. We don't know. So we don't have one in Alabama. It puts us at a disadvantage. I think it helps everybody. It helps the seller. Because who do you think most of the lawsuits are filed by in a real estate transaction? The seller or the buyer?
Buyer.
The buyer. And why do you think? You didn't tell me about the termites. 70% of the suits by buyers. So I think it would cover your assets better if you would use this form. They got one on the website. Took y'all a minute to catch that. Let's get another cup of coffee and you'll catch them faster. There are other bad things going on in Alabama, not just Alabama, but everywhere. I think everywhere on earth has radon. Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer. 21,000 people die of radon caused lung cancer. That's more people than all the traffic accidents and all the drownings combined. I've known a lot of people be in traffic accidents, and I hear about drownings all the time. I've never heard of one person dying of radon-induced lung cancer, but it's there. Now, radon, can't see it, can't smell it, can't touch it. It's in this room right now. It's outside, just like it's in here. But what happens is with newer homes, they're tight, they're insulated. Prior to the 70s, they didn't put in insulation in the walls. You could get around a window and feel the air coming through it. Now they're tight. So if they're tight, that means you don't have the air radon getting out. And if you're built on a slab, concrete is the slab. Well, the concrete, the radon's coming up and hitting the concrete, and it's looking for a way out. And it's going to find a crack because concrete cracks. You on slab, you got carpet down, you don't see the crack, but it's down there. Now the radon's coming up in the house, and it's not getting out. Ouch. There are ways to get it out. Passive systems where you have like one of those sewer drain pipes. They'll have it going through the slab, so the radon will find its way there and go on out, and you don't get it in you. That's radon. Asbestos. Another one, we have no duty to discover it, but if you know about it, you've got to talk about it. Asbestos was used in all kinds of insulation back, I guess, in the 50s, maybe 60s even. It was everywhere. The radiators, you remember the old radiators against the wall? Well, hot water was pumped through pipes, went through the radiator, and that's how you heated the room. Well, these pipes, they would insulate them with asbestos because it worked really well. They didn't know what it did. It takes like 30 years for asbestos to get in your lungs and kill you. But it will. Y'all see the commercials all the time. You work with asbestos, call this number. We'll get you billions of dollars. Well, again, you have no duty to discover it. But if the owner tells you, yeah, this linoleum down here is special. Granddaddy bought it, and it's coated with, it's all made of asbestos. Asbestos chips all ground up because it insulates the floor. Well, they just told you we got asbestos flooring in here. Some houses, the outside shingles were asbestos. You'll find them every now and then because they'll crack. They'll just break off. It's a little sheet. And it'll break off. You see a corner of it broken off. That's probably asbestos siding. Well, now you know it. or you don't really know it because you didn't test it and you didn't ask them, so these are asbestos shingles? Because they're going to say, I don't know. Again, no duty to discover or duty, you have a duty to disclose if you discover it. Stigmatized properties. Those are properties that it may be a ghost. What if there was a murder-suicide in this house? Would you want to move in there? I'm saying no, I don't know. Depends on the price. It's discounted enough. Well, my thought on this is, if there's a ghost there, whose mind is that ghost in? The buyer coming to look at this house, they've never met the ghost. They don't know anything about the ghost. It's in the seller's mind. I'm pretty sure the ghost is going to move with them. Pretty sure, I don't know that for a fact. If they can promise me the ghost will stay, then I'll tell the buyer, there's a ghost that lives in the attic here. I was telling you earlier, I heard something over my desk in there. Well, it's really cold outside now, and there was a squirrel that had found one of the lights, and he'd all snuggled up to the light. Well, I heard him up there, but I didn't think he's a ghost. No, but somebody may. Stigmatized. The deal with this is you might as well get it out in the open. You need to let the seller know, because the seller told you the house had a murder-suicide in it 20 years ago. All the neighbors know it. And if your buyer talks to just one of them, they're going to say, do you know what happened in that house? So it's best that you go ahead and get this on out in the open, lay it on out there, and if they don't want it because of the ghost, show them another house. Not all of them going to have ghosts. Sinkholes. Just south of us in Shelby County, you know, there's a whole lot of lime down there. Lime's real soft. Water gets in it and eats it away. And when it eats it away, the land just collapses. Well, Shelby County, they probably have to disclose there's a possibility of sinkholes anywhere down here. Up here, I don't know of one around here, but a bunch of them down there. So you need to keep that in mind. Sinkholes. If your house falls in a hole, that could be a problem. So let's talk about it now. Megan's Law, that's the one about sex predators. They've been convicted of some kind of sex crime. You have no duty, and don't you dare start looking them up for them, because let's go back to fair housing. Fair, equal, consistent. If you look it up for one person, fair, equal, consistent means you need to be looking it up for everybody. You don't have time to do that. If that's important to your buyer, and they'll tell you, are any sex predators living around here? I don't know. I don't live around here. I don't know. But I think there's maybe a website you can go and you can Google it, sex predators, this area, and it'll probably bring you up a list. But the deal is, if you do it for one, from now on you need to be doing it for everybody, because sure enough, you did it for 2 or 3, and then you say, well, that's just not worth it. 4th one, sex predators living next door, kills their little girl. Who they suing? They're suing everybody, and you're going to be on the list because you should have told me. And a little article on seller disclosure. It's not required in Alabama. Some people move here from other states, agents, get their license here, and their rules are different. They say, well, here's how we did it there. You've got to give me a seller disclosure. Well, no. Because we don't do that here. If you want one, you can go on the Real Estate Commission's website, download it, and give it to the seller. And see if they'll fill it out. They don't have to. Most states, well not most, a lot of states, you do. And here's why. caveat emptor. Y'all remember that? Caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. Fortunately for us, we don't have to remember all the reasons and the exceptions to this because they were written on our hand. Remember that? Written on our hand. H is health and safety. A, there's what you're just doing right now. You are assuming a duty. You are becoming their agent. So that's an exception. If you've got agency, you got more due diligence. They ask you about sinkholes. You got any sinkholes around here? Now they've asked you to find out something for them. Remember you said, I'm your agent. I'm going to do what you, obedience. Okay, I need to go look up sinkholes around here now. HAN, new construction. New construction's going to have a warranty on it. Builder's pretty much guaranteeing everything's going to work. If it doesn't, call me. We'll fix it. Not that way with a seller. Just a used home. You move in it, you say, well, this doesn't work. You going to call the seller? He's going to say, yeah, I knew about that. But he didn't have to tell you unless it was health and safety. He knows the holes here in the floor, and the next person that steps on that carpet may go straight through the basement. He knew. That he's got to talk about. Last one is direct question. What's going on with this spot in the floor? Uh-oh, now I've been asked a direct question about that spot in the floor. What am I going to do? I'm going to talk about it. Everything I know. I'm just going to have diarrhea of the mouth now. It's really soft because there are termites under there, and he said he hadn't got it treated, and I don't know what he's going to do. Well, when you get if you got an offer on that one, because the buyer's going to say if there are termites there are termites everywhere. What else you got without termites? Now, it's a direct question. You got to be careful how you ask questions. You could say, is the house in pretty good shape? Yeah. You don't have to say, except for the termites eating the floor out right here, because they didn't ask you that. This house is in pretty good shape, great shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just need a couple $1,000s worth of work here, and it'll be in really great shape. But the direct question is that you want to ask is, what do you know wrong with this house? That's pretty direct. Now, they know about that, or they should have known. They've been walking around it for 5 years because they don't have the $2,000 to fix it. Their homeowner's insurance not going to fix termite damage. That's on you. So they've been just walking around it. That's my favorite saying down there, half truth, whole lie. So they ask you a question, answer them completely and truthfully. All right, we are at our little project now. We've gathered all the information we need. You just got a call from somebody that, I don't know, maybe your sister or your cousin or somebody called you and say, hey, I got a friend. You just had a referral from Mobile, didn't you? All right. The owner of this house lives in Mobile.
Okay.
But the house is in Vestavia. Do they know much about Vestavia? Yeah, maybe. If they bought a house like this in Vestavia, I hope they know something about it. Well, they just bought this house. Looks pretty nice. Bought it in Vestavia, which is a pretty good area. And they're going to flip this house. They want you to help them. Help me price it. You expert. You live here. I live in Vestavia, but I know where Vestavia is. I drive through it every day. So I know, yeah, I'm an expert on Vestavia. That's me. Got this big V on my shirt. So what do we need to do? They called you. They said, can you meet me at the house and talk to me about the house? What should you carry with you? What kind of form? You need to carry a recad form with you, but before you go meet them, what should you do?
Go on MLS.
Yeah, go on, y'all got MLS access, go on there and do some research. What's the big picture? Before we even get to the MLS, what's the big picture? What's going on nationally?
Oh, look at the market.
Yeah, look at the market, the big picture. I hear the market's awful. You know, y'all get this. I get it. I see it all the time. You on the internet, and the first article there, market's crashing. Prepare for the worst. Here's what you need to do. And you say, oh no. And then you scroll on down, market's never been better. On the same page now. So you can't depend on, everything on the internet's true. Well, which one of these are true? I'm not going to depend on either one of them. I'm going to dig a little deeper. So I'm going to do a little research. What really is going on nationally? And what's going on locally? And what's going on in Vestavia? Let's just keep tightening it down till we get to where we need to be. Local, we got all that now. Here's our, let's just say we already know nationally everything's pretty good. So we want to look at local. Pull this up. This is listings. These are houses that have sold in the last 1 year. For the last 3 years, it's graphed. You see anything wrong with that? You think we're going up or down? Does this give you any indication the market's crashing? Does it give you any indication the market's just going to be wonderful from now on forever? No, I don't see either one of those things. It looks to me like we're in status quo. Everything's just rocking along. We got over here, it looks like almost the same number of houses have sold the last 3 Octobers. Pretty much the same number. You see, it's seasonal. This is when people are getting ready for the schools, moving. That's May. Boom, boom, boom. And then it drops back down. It'll zoom on down January. You can pretty much take December, last part of December, you can just stay at home. Nobody's getting out looking at houses then.
Right.
You can see this. They're certainly not putting contracts on them.
Yeah.
But then it starts back up. The weather gets better. But I'm seeing we're pretty much rocking along. I don't see any reason to think the sky is falling. I don't see any reason to think prices are going to double next year. Looks to me like I could depend on the research that I gather up from past sales, expireds, current actives. I can look at that and say, this will give me a really good idea of what's going on. Y'all agree with that? Yeah. Got a lot of things. It just shows you. Here's prices. Prices. Have they changed a lot? Well, I'm looking, let's see, we're in October over here. And 3 years ago, prices were here. Next year they went up. Next year they went up. But they're not going up like that. They're just going up nice little smooth jump, about what you would expect. Year over year, prices are going up about 5%. You can look back through history, back to probably the 50s, and prices have gone up about 5% every year up until 2007. Then wham, they went down and they flattened and then started back up. The slope wasn't as high, but it rocked, and now it's back up to about 5% a year. We're back to kind of what people think is normal for real estate appreciation. And if I think it's normal and we're back the way we should be, am I going to buy now or am I going to wait?
It's time to buy.
Time to buy. I need it. I mean, next year's going to be worth 5% more.
Yeah.
If I wait till then, my payment's going to be more. Everything about it. Well, maybe I'll wait 3 more years. Why? Well, if they were going down, yeah, I want to wait a few years till it flattens and then starts back up. But this tells us what we want to know here. Here's our pricing. I said, no, what is it? Activity summary. All right, we've got active count. We've got 5,800 houses on the market right now in the metro Birmingham area. That's not just downtown Birmingham. That's like 5 counties around here. 5,800 homes. All right, let's see. We got. Now we don't have history here on years past, but the number I do see here that gets my attention is there are 6.5% fewer houses on the market now than a year ago. Uh-oh. Remember back to supply and demand? Mm-hmm. If there are fewer to choose from, what's going to happen to price? It's going to go up. To us, we're listing a house, that's a good thing. Even if we price it a little high, the market's going to come to us. If there were just, 6% more houses on the market now than a year ago, what does that tell us price? They're probably a little high right now because people are holding off buying. Mm-hmm. Because you have about the same number of sales normally. Here the problem is it's going to push prices up. Here's the thing that you need to learn about supply and demand and the real estate business. We had 5,800 active houses. In the last month, 1,300 of them sold. You divide, this is called absorption rate. I don't have it written up there, but absorption rate is what this is. That gives us a 4.4 months supply of houses. So if they didn't put another one on the market, it's going to take 4.5 months roughly to sell them all. There should be about 6 months supply. If there's a 6-month supply, then neither side's got leverage. It's in balance. I can't put mine too high because there's a bunch of them here to choose from. So I've got to price mine right. And the market we're in now, what can you do? You can actually push your price up a little bit, not a whole lot, but you can be wrong on your price. And there's not enough to choose from. Y'all should have seen us back when the tornado came through Birmingham. Tore up like 10,000 houses. Wham! There was like a month's supply. You just put something out there, it's going to sell. Just give me a price. I got to have somewhere to live. I really want to be in this school zone. There's only one house available. What you want for it? This is not good for the buyers. Really good for the sellers. This is just, we're talking Vestavia, but normally you have 4 cycle. You have a cycle of 4 points in development. When you first open an area, say this is Vestavia in 1955. Everything's brand new. Then time rocks on and everything's stable. All the houses look nice. Vestavia never went here. This is Avondale. Y'all know where Avondale is. This is what happened. Avondale was built in the 20s, looked like that till the 60s. 15 years ago it looked like that, and now they're coming in and tearing these down and doing this. Vestavia didn't get there. Vestavia went from there to here. They're rehabbing the houses there. They're still real nice houses. But they've got brass and glass on them. Or they've got the sunken living room. Or they've got all these 1950s features. Paneling on the wall. Dark paneling on the wall.
Wallpaper.
Yeah, wallpaper that won't come down. What am I going to? I got to tear the sheetrock down to get the wallpaper off. So, let's take us a break. We're about halfway through here before we get into this, because this is where we're going to have to work a little harder. Back from break, let's look at an example. The house we just had back here, or this one right here, that's how it looks right now. And your friend wants you to help them sell it, help them price it. They're living in Mobile, they bought this house right, and they think they're gonna make a ton of money on it. Help them out. So we walk through here, we see what our market condition is, what the absorption rate is. This tells us we can pretty much price it at the top of what we come up with and expect to get that. Alright, here is what these are the 3 properties that have sold on that street, and you look at the addresses. The one that we've got is at 1769, this one's at 1753, and that one's at 1801. They're all within probably a block of each other. And they were all built, 1954, 54, and 55. Pretty much all the same time. Probably the same builder. Right down that street, that was the first street that went across. And they started building there. Alright? We've got 3 that have sold in the last 1 year. So, what have they sold for? And what was the condition? What were these properties like? Well, I went in and looked them up. This is the one on ours, but these other 2, this one, it sold for $300,000. This one sold for $360,000. Here's the square footage, 1,300, almost 1,400 square feet, 1,750 square feet. This is how much it sold for per square foot. 217, 205. Ours sold at $134 a square foot. It was built before brass and glass. This one was probably original condition based on this price. They paid $250,000 for this house. Now I looked these other 2 up. I didn't print all that stuff out because we can just go from this. Both of these have been rehabbed, updated. That's what they're doing. They're coming in here, these houses that were built in the 50s, 60s, 70s, they're going in and gutting them. A lot of them, they don't have insulation in the walls now, so they're taking the sheetrock down, putting insulation in the walls, new sheetrock. These windows, single pane windows, probably in this one right now, those are coming out. They'll put in insulated. They're going to upgrade this house. Let's just say they're putting $50,000 worth of upgrades in there. Maybe a little more, but let's just keep it simple. They paid $250, they're putting $50 in it, so they've got a $300,000 investment. Now, looking down at the 2 that have sold, one at $205 and one at $217. You think we could probably get at least $205 for it? Probably. Maybe $217 per square foot. They're all just alike now. They're just like cookie cutters. I pulled it back a little bit, and let's just say we can price it. I think we can get $200 a square foot for it. Y'all think that's a reasonable price? You shaking head? Yeah, yeah. Well, if these both sold at more than that,
Right.
I'm pretty sure I can probably get that.
Right.
So at our 1,800 square feet times the 200, we can sell this one for about $370. All right, and I'm looking at these others. That one was smaller, about 500 square feet smaller, and sold for $300. This one about 100 square feet smaller and sold for $360. You think $370 is reasonable? I do too. So I'm going to say, let's price it at $370. Okay, you say y'all like this. This is a fun game, isn't it? This is exactly how you do this. You got to justify your price. I actually think this is low.
I do too. I was gonna say that.
I really think it's low. And based on our absorption rate, number of houses on the market, if we went 379, I'd still be comfortable with that. Maybe even price it at 399, but no, that's too high. I think that's too high. 389, when the last one sold at 360, and it's just a little 100 square feet, I'm gonna say 370 is a minimum it will sell for. 379 is probably what we'd like to price it. Put it on the market, 379, 9. Don't forget that 9. That's $1,000 you're gonna leave on the table. So go ahead and price it 379, 9. Here's we need to get information because we're fixing to put it on the market. So here's the information. We can pull up when it's sold, and that's sold. There's this address. It's in the city of Vestavia. It tells you the tax district. It tells you the square footage. And square footage is only heated and cooled living area above ground. This house, I don't see anything about a basement. A lot of these houses have full basements. That one looks like it might have a full basement. Doesn't mention it. Nothing finished, so there's no basement. But it tells us a lot of other things about the house. It's got our legal description, and we have to have a legal description. Here's our driving directions, how to get there, year it was built, wasn't historic or none of this stuff. I'm good with that. And we're going down here and it tells us all about the features in the house. 4-sided brick, heated and cooled. It's a central system. This is about when they started putting central systems in houses. Before that, you had window units. But it tells you all the things you need to know. Fenced yard, hardwood. Oh, we got hardwoods under the carpet. Well, the people that bought this to flip it, they saw that and said, wonderful. Because people want hardwoods. They don't want carpet now. Just get rid of the carpet. So the first thing they probably did is they stripped this house out, left the carpet down while they're stripping it, and then took the carpet out, and underneath it, the floors may be great. They may have some stains. They may even have some wood where maybe there was a plant sitting here and it messed the floor up right here. Well, there are people that can come in and fix that floor and it'll look just like brand new. You can take hardwoods, even, what is that, 70 years, almost 70-year-old hardwood, and the sander guys can come in with those sanders and clean this thing off. It costs about $2 a square foot to make it look brand new. That's something that this flipper said, oh, that's wonderful. I don't have to put that genuine imitation hardwood down. I got the real thing. That'll bring more money. Just got a heat pump. Don't know how old it is. A lot of times the flippers just want to start out with brand new everything. New water heater, new HVAC, everything. Just tells you all the other stuff. Now we got information on the second sheet that we need for our listing agreement. It looks like I'm the listing agent. Isn't that wonderful?
I was like, that's
How about that? Is that you, Stan? That is me. That's one thing about our MLS. When you print one of these off for someone, it puts your picture on there, not the listing agent's picture.
Oh.
So when you give this to your client, they, oh, you know all about this house. I've never. But they think I have. You got a lot of stuff on here to help you. Lead-based paint. Yeah, 19, yeah, we got one of those. Covenants and restrictions in 55? No. There are no covenants, restrictions, no homeowners associations, none of that back then. So you'll have no on all of those. Here's our tax amount. $2,300 a year in taxes on this property. Is there a termite? Yes, there's a termite contract. It says to be determined. They said, I don't really know if it's a termite contract on there or
I
not.
know.
So they said, we'll get one. But you're gonna have to have a termite contract on it to get it financed. This redemption rights over here, if it was a foreclosure, then that'd be yes here on redemption. Don't get a lot of foreclosures on this street, but no here, and if it was, it'd tell you when. On down here, we talked about fees. When you're gonna put this on the market to sell, you gotta tell people what the fees are. All right, city, you're not gonna have anything in here. Like association, well this one, association fees, homeowner management, over here, that's what I'm looking for. You won't have garbage fees, library fees, fire fees. You won't have any of that because it's in the city. Now if you're in the county, then you'll have all of these fees. So you need to find out for them. Sometimes the owner said, well, we take our own garbage to the dump. Well, that means there's a fee. So you need to find out what the fee is there when you list it, because it may be, $10 a month or $50 a month. That's important to somebody. All right, now here we got property being sold as is. Do not walk on the deck. Uh-oh.
Red flag.
Uh-oh. They give me warning though, don't walk on the deck. And this is in agent notes. They really should have that up here in our consumer notes. This is all they wrote about the consumer notes. Usually, you've got 1,000 characters that you want to read. Yes, a diamond in the rough. Normally, you're talking about all the wonderful features. Great. I would have started out here. Fabulous school system, because they've got. I think Vestavia is something like 95% of the kids that graduate from Vestavia go to college. That's the first thing I want to talk about, because that's the motivating factor for most of our sales. School system. But here they're selling this to a flipper. That's what they're just. Here it is. Come get it if you want to fix it, but don't get it on the deck.
Yeah.
You can die. I would have put this back here because this would go out on Zillow, and some people are going to see it on Zillow and go over and walk around and look at it, and they may walk up on the deck.
Wow.
So I think you should warn them.
Yeah, 'cause they got a great, then they have some great screened-in porch down there for the consumer.
Yeah.
But that porch is probably their deck, so that's.
This gives us the information we're going to need for our listing. On down here, this is the stuff that doesn't go out to Zillow and those other places. This tells you who the listing agent is, their company, their contact information, and how you get into it. This has got showing time. Most of them are showing time now. When you put this in, usually that'll be blue, like where you can click on it. But you would click there and it would go to a scheduling calendar, and you just put in, y'all want to go on Thursday at 3, and then it would send an email to these people, and then they would send you an email back. Yeah, that's great. This one has an electronic lockbox on it. Some of them will have a combo box, like we have at our front door out here, so y'all can get in when you want to get in. But see, you could give that combination to anybody. So on properties like this, you want to know who's going in and out. So you have this electronic box, and it's an app on your phone called Supra, and you pay $15 a month to have that app on your phone. But they'll have a box on the front of the house. You walk up with your phone, punch in some numbers, and they'll give you the key. And that gives them an electronic timestamp who you were and when you were there. So if, say this guy had been there that morning, and then you were the only one that's been in the house, and he goes back that night and all the faucets are running, the water's running everywhere, who's he gonna call?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Last person there.
That's why we use electronic. It also tells you what kind of relationship they have. They have an exclusive right to sell. Remember, that's the one you want. That means no matter who sells it, you get paid. Full service, agency, and there's no difference in the commission. This is new on our listings. Used to, you could have a commission here of, they're offering 3% to the buyer broker, and they're gonna probably get, they may be getting 2, maybe getting 3. They don't know what they're getting. You never know what they're getting. But if they had made a deal with them saying, okay, we'll do the listing at 6%, and we're gonna offer 3 out, and if we sell it ourselves, we'll do it for 5%. Then you'd have a yes here. And that's giving you a warning as a selling agent that if you've got a contract and you put it up against a contract he's got, you're at a 1% disadvantage on your price. It's just giving you a heads up. If I tell you, give me highest and best, and he's got one of the offers in, you're gonna have to probably bump yours up a little bit because they're saving what, they sold it for $250. That's $2,500 that they would have saved on that by them giving them that deal. I know down here, this is what you're looking for when when you're looking back at what happened. And that's what we're looking at now. We want to know, what did it really sell for? Because sometimes you'll have a listing price. They had a listing price, okay, originally the price was $299. And then they dropped it to, was that $288.8? See that? They paid $250. This is where you get that information. Paid $250, $134 per square foot. And remember, we've already decided we think we can sell it for $200 a square foot after we put all this money in it. All right, so we've got all our information now. We know everything we need to know. Here's the tax record on it. All right. This agent is not who, he's the one that actually sold it to these people. Stag Holdings out of Mobile. So that tells me they're probably a flipper. So I know that. This just, a lot of this information we had back in that other one, like our parcel number, our tax. This will tell us what the tax is right now. This was our assessed value. That's the number that the property tax assessor thinks it's worth based on what others have sold around there. He thinks it's worth $250. They're taxed on $25,000, so that's 10% of that. That tells you it was owner occupied. The tax was $2,300. 25, so our millage rate's probably about 9. If it had been 10, it'd be $2,500 in taxes. So it's 23, so I guess 9. But that's a number you're going to have to put on your listing agreement when you put it in the MLS. You'll put that right there. There's the taxes, because somebody buying that property, they won't know what the taxes are. Now, had this been a rental house, those taxes would have been twice that, $4,600. And somebody buying that, if you were representing the buyer, you would want this seller to pay the difference in those taxes through the rest of this year. Because, see, we got a whole year. This is November, almost a whole year. The new owner is going to have to pay those higher taxes. So as a buyer's agent, you're going to want to write that in your contract that seller to pay the higher portion of the property taxes. Why should you have to pay them? You're owner occupant. Next year you'll be able to homestead it, and it'll drop back down to here. This tells you other things. 2 full baths, 3 bedrooms, there's a square footage, number of stories when it was built. On down here, 70% good. That means if it was 100% good, it'd be like brand new. For one that is almost 70 years old to be 70% good, they've been taking care of it. Yeah, it's in good shape. On down here, we talked about flood zones. Here, flood zones, it says X. That means it's outside of a 1 or 2% flood zone. This is the top of the hill in Vestavia. If this floods, watch for Noah to go by. Should never flood up there. We're in deep trouble if it does. Also tells you things like it's got public water, public sewer. Those are things your buyer's going to want to know. It's got well water, probably not in Vestavia. Now, there are a lot of septic tanks up there because, you know, the rock is some places only that deep under the grass. So they couldn't put sewers in a lot of places. A lot of those original houses had septic tanks because they just couldn't put a sewer line in. All right, we've got all our information gathered up. This is where we start our file. This is a little checklist on things you need to do. Y'all got one of them. Let me get one. Got one right there. Let me get you this other thing. This is something, you got one of those? Okay. This is the MLS data sheet. This is like 4 pages or so. When you go to take the listing, you need to have one of these forms with you because you're not going to remember everything about this house when you get back to the office or back home. As you go through, is this a single family condo? That you'll probably remember. But some of these other things you may not know. If you don't know, now's the time to find out. While I'm here at the house, I don't have to call the owner after a while and say, was that 2 or 3 bedrooms? No, don't embarrass yourself like that. Make notes as you go through here. There are a couple of places on here where the seller is actually supposed to initial on the sewer. Is it on sewer? That's on page, there's a couple things here on the second page about this. The seller needs to initial where did the square foot come from. LeadBased Paint, 1970. Well, this one's prior to 78, so the seller should initial here, saying, yeah, it was built before 78. We're going to do a LeadBased paint disclosure. But this is just an information sheet. This is a check sheet put together so you can kind of do things in order and not skip something. Got out here, where's the property, who's the client, their phone number, email. That's important stuff because you really need to know that because you're going to be talking to these people a lot. And I suggest doing most of it by email so you have a written record. When they come back and say, well, I told you it was on sewer. Well, I got an email here where you said that you had the septic tank cleaned out 10 years ago. Another thing, if y'all buy or doing a deal on a house with a septic tank, always request the seller to clean and inspect the septic tank. You don't know when it was cleaned before. It may be the original septic tank that hadn't been cleaned in 10 years. Go ahead and get that done now so you don't get in there the first time you flush the toilet, you go boo. So I wonder what that noise is about. All right, gather up the information for the other agent. Get everything you need to know. Oh, here's the first thing we got to have, our recad. And you see over here it says file. These are things that have got to be in the file when you turn. You're not getting your paycheck until you turn a file in that's got all of these forms in it. The recad. All right, we're going to do a listing on this house. So we'll have a listing agreement. It's got to be written to create agency. They can't just say, how about you sell my house, put an MLS for me. Well, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna be transaction broker in that case if I don't have this written agreement. We're gonna get to one in a minute. Tomorrow night, we'll be working on the buyer agency agreement, which is written as well. We got things, our MLS, we're getting that, gathering all that up. Pictures, oh my goodness. Y'all been on the internet looking at houses.
Yeah.
You look at the first picture, if you like it, you may look at another one. If you don't like that first one, you're not going to the next one.
Mhm.
Make really good pictures. Don't make them with your iPhone, even though they're pretty good now. Used to I said don't do that, but now they're pretty good. But use a wide angle lens. You can get a little adapter for that. Make a wide angle picture, because most of them, I'm going to say 95% of the pictures on the internet, they made with just a regular camera, and you'll get like this much. Use a wide angle lens. You'll get like 90 degrees. And you also get ceiling and floor. You get a whole lot of picture. And that's what people want. They want a pretty picture. And they want lots of them. Get your pictures. When they give you a key, go get another one made. Because sure as you put one in that lockbox and don't have another one, next person goes to the lockbox and said, there's no key in here. And the agent said, I put it back. And they really, when they unlocked the house, they were talking to their client, and they just put the key in their pocket, went on, they went out the door, they just pulled it and locked it, and now you can't get in the house, and they don't know where the key is. You can call a locksmith and get him to open it for you. It'll be about $100.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to tell you, get you an extra key made. Signs. Get your lockbox on, all that. Your signs. Whether you're going to use your own little sign on a little wire thing, you can do that some places. Rentals, that's all we ever do, is a little wire rack with a single sign. But if you put in this house in Vestavia on, what's that, Vestaview Lane, probably don't want to put the little wire thing on a $370,000 house. You want to call one of these sign people. And they'll come out and they'll put one of those big post signs with a thing in your sign hangs here. That's what they're expecting to see there. You might even want to step your game up, put one of those little solar lights on it. Where at night. Yeah, and it got your attention, didn't it?
Oh, my, that is good.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, you may want to do something like that. Gather up your information, your homeowner's fees, you got covenants. You need to have those covenants. When they make an offer, you pretty much going to have to give them some covenants, because they may be things in there they don't want to do. Some people have a 30-foot motor home. They want to park at their house. Well, a lot of the covenants, homeowner association says no RVs in our neighborhood.
Right.
All these other things, you start gathering up. You got addendums to your contract. Addendum is you're adding at the time of the contract. That would be like a personal property addendum. You want them to leave the hot tub. Because if you don't write it in there, they may take it with them. Think these things out. Is it going to be VA financing or FHA financing? You'll have an addendum for that. It's got to appraise for purchase price, or the person can walk away. And I'm going to tell you, buyers get cold feet. It's called buyer's remorse. You don't want to give them the opportunity to walk away. On this, it says you can walk away or renegotiate. Well, what most sellers say, what the appraisal say? Okay, we can take that. Why would they put it back on the market, sell it again, get another appraisal that's going to be about the same price? We got, what else we got? Your finalized date. All right, on a contract, which we'll do tomorrow night, once everybody has gone back and forth maybe a couple of times as counters, now we've got a two-sided bilateral accepted contract. Everybody's on the same page. We have a meeting of the minds. We might have started this contract a week ago, and it's taken us a week to finally get everybody together. Yeah, we'll leave. We wanted to take the hot tub, but we will leave it. All right, we're agreeing today. Today is the date that's our finalized date, and that's when the clock starts on our inspections, financing, insurance. You know, you gotta run the insurance people run a report on that property. Has it had a bunch of claims? If it has, they don't want to insure it. They don't have to insure it. So don't let the clock get ahead of you. Yeah, ahead of you. You don't want to be behind the clock. Earnest money, who's going to hold it? There are companies here in Birmingham that will not hold earnest money. That's okay. Either the listing broker can hold it, the selling broker can hold it, or the closing agent can hold it. Somebody is going to be holding some earnest money. Just keep track of who's got it and how much it is. Net sheet. We're going to have to do one of those as soon as we get our offer. And I suggest that we do it we're going to do one here on this property here's what it's going to cost you to sell the house. I didn't realize it's going to be that much. We're going to have to ask more for it. It's better to get all this out on the table now. Because there are actually some sellers saying, what are we going to sell it for? Well, 100. So I'm going to get a check for 100. Probably not. No. So get all that. Lead-based paint disclosure, if we got to have one of those. Insurance at 7 days. And insurance and title both cost you, use a rule of thumb, about $600 for every $100,000 worth of coverage. Just keep it simple. If it's a little more, a little less, you're going to be doing a net sheet. You just give them a good idea. Inspection, you got to get that inspector lined up. We actually have an inspector that works with us real close, does a lot of them. You can't guarantee him though. You can't say, well, oh no, he's the best. He always does a perfect job. Yeah, he may have already done 4 today. And you know, it's an hour before dinner time, and he's hungry, and he may miss something. So you just say, he's done good work for us in the past. I like him. He's about $400. And if they don't want an inspector, we got a form that says, we told you to get an inspection, and you didn't. Because if they don't, and something turns up, they're going to say, you should have told me about that. Well, I didn't know. You should have known. You should have told me to get an inspection. I did. I've got a form that you signed saying you didn't want one. Because that's what the judge is going to want to see when they take you to court and sue you for not disclosing the termites on the floor. Appraisal. The mortgage company will order the appraisal. They're about $450 now. And they don't get to pick them. We have an appraiser here, but we can't pick him. In fact, we have nothing to do with the mortgage. We're going to refer you to a mortgage company. We can't get a kickback from them. We can't give them kickbacks. There are no kickbacks allowed in this business. The only money that can change is broker to broker on a co-op sale. Okay, got that. Inspector, the mortgage company, they're going to order the appraiser, and they do it from a list. They've got because we had so much mortgage fraud back when the market crashed. You had appraisers that go, what do you want it to appraise for? Well, about $400, and you'd get an appraisal back at $399.77. Okay, that's close enough. Now they can't have a relationship with them. They're going to pick them as a pool. They said the next name on the list gets the next appraisal assignment. But about $450, and usually they get them done within 2 or 3 or 4 days. Make sure you've got all your contact information from the mortgage company. The buyer is going to have to give them permission for you to talk to them. You can't call the mortgage company and say, well, how's it going? What's their credit score? What's this, that? They won't tell you. without permission. We got home warranty. Every buyer wants a home warranty. They're about $600, cover basic systems. They all ask for it. And that's a negotiating point. Because $600, sale is going to make a lot of difference. Title, again, like homeowners insurance, your title is going to be about $600 per 100,000 in coverage. On a title insurance, if it's a cash sale, in our contract, it says the seller will pay for the title cost. If there's a mortgage involved, it says they'll split. Now, all that's negotiable, as is everything in the contract. You can say, yeah, we'll do all that, and then you come back and put a line down at the bottom that says seller to pay $5,000 toward purchaser's closing cost and prepaids. And that way, if you were splitting it with them, now half of it's already covered, and now that other half's going to probably get covered by that $5,000 credit to you. Title company, usually I like for the closing attorney to do the title work. Because if a problem comes up, it's better they know it right now than to have two different people over here that may not be communicating. Survey, whether you get it or not, depends on a lot of things. If it's a new house and new fence and you bought it new, they're going to give you a survey with it or a Watt and block map with it. Rarely do you get surveys. That's usually not something people do. I already talked about the sewer and septic cleaning. Termite. If they've got a termite contract with someone now, that company will transfer it over to the new owner, usually from free up to $150. I think it's just good business policy. If I have a customer, I want to keep them. So I'll transfer it free if it was my decision, but some of the termite companies, so I can get $100 here, $150 just for changing the file on the computer. If it's a new one, it's going to be $250 or maybe above. Wood infestation report, the same person that does the termite does the wood infestation report. They have to be licensed to do termite inspections to do a wood infestation inspection. Wood infestation can cover it can cover termites. That's infesting the wood. It could be mold. It could be other bugs. It could be lots of things, but they're trained to look for it. We don't ever do any of that. Even if you are a licensed home inspector, don't do your own home inspection. Okay, closing date. Closing date now on the contract is carved in stone. There's a little line there that says, time is of the essence. Quotation marks. That means if it doesn't close by the date you've got on the contract, one of you is in breach. We got a problem here. But then right under that, it's got another little line that says if these dates need to be adjusted, we'll adjust them. Well, if somebody was wanting out of the contract, they may say, no, I want to stick with this date, and if you can't do it, give me my money back. The seller only has to provide marketable title. That's their job. Their really only job. The buyer, on the other hand, has to provide financing, money, a lot of other things going on there. Okay, our closing attorneys, they're about $900. That's got a little box in the contract that says agree to split or not. Almost every single one of them, let's split. Neither one of them wants to pay the full fare, so let's split that. That's about the only thing that really splits, other than title if it's got a mortgage on it. Okay, get an attorney, all their contact. And then the last thing you've got to get is when you go to closing, you've got to get the closing statements. All these things are in the file. We got our recad form, either a listing or buyer agreement. Then down here, we got our the addendums, they're in there. Any of the addendums, our net sheets in there, a LeadBased Paint, that's got to be in there. And then the closing statement. There's about 5 things that have to be in every file. You'll see once y'all bring your first check in here, we're going to have a checklist. And we just go down there and make sure everything's in there. Okay, listing agreement. We got about 30 minutes. Got warm in here. Y'all got your
No.
wrapped up. Y'all not warm?
I thought I made the hours on.
I did.
Me too.
It's hard getting these rooms balanced. But here's what's got to be in the listing agreement. It can either be agency or non-agency. You can do a listing as a transaction broker. We talked in class about flat fee listings. There are people, that's what they specialize in. That's all they do. So they do it non-agency, but there's still rules they've got to follow. Now, the owner sets the price and terms. They want $399,000, and they want to close at the end of the month. And they want to only accept cash. Whoa. Well, I'll tell you something about mortgages. Mortgage companies don't want to do one under 100. And they're not going to do one under 50. It's just no money in it for them. They don't want to fool with it. So it may be, if it's a $30,000 house, they'll probably have cash. Because you're not going to get financing on it. But the rule says if the broker, under a listing agreement, brings a ready, willing, able buyer, they're due a commission. That's what the rules say. Reality says it's got to close. Because there's always something they say, well, you brought a ready, willing, able buyer, but it wasn't at full price. So you're not getting paid. But if it goes to closing, you're going to get paid. Got to be signed by all owners. We talked earlier about you need to see the deed. If they can get you the deed and you can see whose names are on there, that's who needs to sign the listing agreement, because this is an employment, personal service agreement between the owner and you to do something. And they said, okay, I'll pay you if you do it, but then they just got a divorce and their spouse says, I'm out of here. Don't ever call me again. I don't want to hear anything from you ever again. They may not be willing to sign it. And then there, you're doing all that work for nothing. So make sure you got everybody on there. Remember we had 3 things on the test. Was this on y'all's test? Y'all have a test about listing agreements?
I don't remember that.
A lot of people have done. These are the things. Must have an expiration date. You just can't say, I'll sell your house sooner or later. You got to say, I'll sell it, and it's got to be, let's see, this time of year, you'd probably want to make it go through about July, because we saw the graph there a minute ago. If it doesn't sell by July, it's probably priced wrong. No automatic renewal. So sometimes, well, if it doesn't sell by July, we just keep on. No, you've got to have an expiration date, and you must, this is the only form, you must leave with the seller. When you do a listing agreement, it says you got to leave a copy with them. Anything else, you can get to them in a reasonable time. Unilateral personal antitrust, we got all that, you know that. This is a listing agreement. Y'all got one of these in your package? We're not going to fill it out because it'll take us the rest of the night to fill it out. But each one of these little sections, you can see this is a contract. Who, what, when, where. Same things we have in all contracts. We have the 4 legals. Got to be for a legal purpose, which this is. The person signing it's got to be of legal age, competence, and have the authority to sell it. Remember I said, look at the deed. Husband and wife own it. One of them's gone. The one doesn't have the authority to sell it. Both of them have got to be on there. Walk on down through here, we've got discrimination. Big bold letters. This is fair housing. On down here, we're going to say, I'm going to put this in MLS, and if I make a mistake, well, let me fix it. Don't sue me. It can happen. You could put this house that we're thinking is going to be 370, and you put it in the MLS and you hit 2 instead of the 3. And you throw it on the market for 270. They say, I'm suing you for that. No, according to this, I can fix it. Just give me a minute to go in there and fix it. Here's our first thing on our listing agreement. Must have an expiration date, so it goes from here to here. Terms and conditions. All right, here's our price going to be $370, and they will take, you want to say cash, conventional, FHA, VA. Best of you're not going to get rural, but if it was in an area we have rural, I'm going to take rural too. You don't want to exclude someone. Like you say, I'll take cash or conventional. Well, there are 10% of the population that's a veteran. You're going to exclude 10% of your possible buyers because you don't want a VA loan on it? What's it matter to you where they're getting their money? Don't exclude people. So you got a bunch of things you can pick from, and some of them are like owner financing, so you can't just say any terms. You got to be more specific. Owner lease back. There's funny ways to finance, but you want to put the ones you'll accept. Did we have a limited consensual dual agent with this? I like to go ahead and get that when I do the listing, just in case we have a buyer that we want to show this house to. Disclosure that says that we can put this out on the MLS and tell other brokers about it. It's not going to be a secret. Why did you hire me if you want it to be a secret? Next page, LeadBased Paint. I write out here to the side what year it was built. That way when I'm going back through and scanning these to make sure everything's done, my date's right here. So this is 1955. Yeah, we got to have a lead-based paint disclosure here. Marketing the property, we've got a new one here called Coming Soon. That just dropped in here I think it was June of last year they did this one. Now the National Association of Realtors is just changing this up. A lot of people didn't like this. I didn't like it because what this is doing is saying, okay, we're going to put it out here on the market, but nobody can look at it yet. That'll give me a chance to sell it to my friends first. Uh-oh, who are you working for?
Right.
If they hire me to sell this house, you hire me to sell it and get it on the market and get it sold. So I think this is probably going to fall off within the next year. They'll come back and rework that. Showing the properties, that's still on the Coming Soon. Down here, this gives you permission to put it in the MLS, to change the pricing, and to tell other brokers you've changed the price. And tell them anything else you need to tell them. Lockbox, can I put a lockbox on there? Yes or no? What kind? Electronic or combo? Photography. If you shoot pictures there, those pictures belong to you. They're copyrighted. You own those pictures. Now, you didn't sell the house. You had it on the market for 6 months, didn't sell it. You told them what price it should be, but they didn't listen. They know everything. They said, no, I think it'll sell for $500,000. I don't care if you did say $370. Put it on the market for $500. Well, you hired a photographer to go out there and it cost you $150 to shoot the pictures. Now another agent's going to get it and he's going to tell them, $500 is not the right price. I think it ought to be somewhere around $399. And they'll say, yeah, that'd probably work better. But they have really good pictures. Why don't you just use their pictures? No, they can't use your pictures. They're going to have to hire somebody to do their own pictures. Now you can give them permission, but they can't just use them because they're yours, copyrighted. Brokerage fee, used to, right here it said seller to pay 6%. It was written in there in print, just like the rest of the print. But there is a, yeah, there it is right here. It says in big bold print, the fee is not set by the Birmingham Association of Realtors, but in all cases set by the broker and seller. The reason that's in there is they got sued because it was printed in there that you're going to pay me 6%. And the seller said, oh, I guess that's the way it is. I have to accept that. They didn't know they could negotiate. So there was a suit. I don't know if it was just, I don't think it was just against Birmingham. I think it was Realtors. And they lost. They're fixing to lose another one out on the West Coast where they're printing. I showed you earlier where they were going to pay 3% to the selling broker. Well, they're calling that price fixing now. And they've been sued on that. And I think it's out in Washington or the whole west of Oregon out there. And if it falls there, it'll sweep across. Just my opinion, but it looks like price fixing to me. They're saying, here's what it is. All right, so now there's a blank here, and you negotiate, and that's the first thing they want to do. 6%. Well, I was on the internet, and they said I could get it done for 1. Will you do it for 1? No, no. But there's somewhere between 1 and 6 that we may be able to get together. It's all negotiable now. There's one here that's called a broker protection clause that says that if you showed it to somebody and the listing expires and then they come back and buy it from the seller, and sometimes that'll happen, they'll call the seller and say, when's the listing expire? Because I want to make an offer on the house without the agent's commission. Don't think they won't. I have seen it happen. This protects you if that happens. You'll put like 90 days or something like that. And then if that happens, you know it's sold, and well, I showed it to you. Yeah. Earnest money. Earnest money is money Ernest puts up to show he's earnest about doing the deal. Now, you as the listing agent, you may write in here 1% earnest money or $1,000 earnest money, along with a pre-qualification letter. I want those two things. The earnest money, if they go under contract and walk away, that's going to be liquidated damages. That money's going to go to the seller. You're not getting any of it. The seller's going to get that money. So you want to get him as much as you can. You'd be shocked how many people will put up $500 in earnest money and then change their mind and just walk away. And you keep it. You get $1,000 from them, or 1%, they're way less likely to walk. We had 2 or 3 last year that just walked away from 500. Changed my mind. There are no other agreements, side agreements, anything else going on. This is the whole deal right here. Attorney fees, if you sue, you pay your own fees. Seller warranty, they're saying, I told you the truth. All right? Well, you didn't tell me about the termites under there. I fell through the carpet. You've been living here for 20 years, and you've been walking around. I should have noticed the path around this soft spot. But this is getting the monkey off of your back and putting it back on them. This is kind of funny here. You can send this by fax machine now. They probably need to take that on out because now we have electronic signature law that's gone into effect. And pretty much everything goes DocuSign now. If any of these provisions are ruled unlawful or invalid, the rest of the contract stands. That's what that means. right here. And governing law is state of Alabama, contract law, real estate law, all that. They sign it, you sign it, and they initial it saying that they got a copy of this. The way I like to do this is assume the sale. They called you out to list the house, go ahead and have everything, you've done all this other work, go ahead and fill this out too. Have it filled out. And then you make a copy of it, and when they sign the original, give them the copy, and you have fulfilled this part right here. A lot of people don't know the law says you've got to leave this with them. They think, I got to get it to them in a reasonable period, but law says immediately, leave it with them. This is the dual agency that you would do along with that. It just says both of them are signing on the same form saying, yeah, I understand you're working for both of us. Net sheets. This is just a refresher on it, but we're going to do one instead of walking through the refresher. This is the property we just did. We decided we're going to sell it for $370, even though we think we're going to probably put it on the market at $379. That's the number we like. But reality, we're thinking $370 is probably what it's going to sell for. So I'm going to go ahead and give them a heads up. Here's what it's going to cost you to sell this property at $370. A brokerage fee. Let's just say it's 5%. There is no set brokerage fee. These people may be really good negotiators and get you to do it for $4. And at a $370, you may be good with 4%. That'd still be a nice payday if you got both sides. Our termite, we talked about that. Attorney fee. I put these numbers whole so it'd just be easier to deal with, because you're going to split this normally. Title insurance on this property it'd probably only be about $1,500, but I put $1,000 just to keep it simple. Tax proration. It's $6,000 for the whole year, because remember this year it wasn't going to be homesteaded, so I'd double up to $6,000, and about a third of that year the seller's going to have to pay. Now, if you've got a good buyer's agent, they're going to want that seller to pay the non-homesteaded rate. So that number may go up, but it'd probably get folded in down here. Warranty, they're always going to ask for a warranty. Now, this is something most buyers ask for too. Seller contribution to closing cost. That's where this would come in. $5,000 there. This seller says, I want to get this thing sold. Offer a $1,000 selling bonus. So there's that. We total all these. It's going to cost $28,000 to sell this house. Selling it for $370, they're going to end up with $341,000, and we figured they had $300 in it. They're going to make, what is that, $41,000. Not bad for a little risk. And that's what it is risk. Market could crash. In fact, it may have crashed today. We don't even know it yet. This house may only be worth $200,000 today. Not likely, but that's how it works. You've got to produce one of these. Okay, now that we've done all that, we've got to get it on the market. We can't just say best house in the world, gold toilet and fixtures and marble. No, you got to tell the truth. You can't just fluff it up. The thing on advertising, there are really 3 points. Got to be truthful. Got to have your name in it, and as your license, and it's got to have the brokerage name in it. 3 things. These are funny. Y'all can, any of this, when you're in a slideshow mode on PowerPoint, anything that's blue, you can click on it and it'll take you to some links that I thought you should look at. These are really funny real estate signs. One of them was, said, for sale, cheap, not haunted. And there's probably 20 of them like that. They're really funny. Antitrust. we've, doing the listing on this, some of these things may apply to us. Some it may be on the other side, but price fixing, that's like telling the customer, yes, 6% is the standard going rate. That's what you must pay. Really? That's price fixing. Boycott, that's where you're refusing to show listings that a discount broker is offering 1% commission on. And you're saying, I'm not showing that. Well, if you won't show them, then you may end up tangled up in a boycotting. Allocation of markets between competitors. I don't know of anybody doing this, but Birmingham's probably not big enough. But say Atlanta, big market over there. There are more people in Atlanta than all of Alabama. Brokers over there may say, I really don't want to go to Covington. How about I give you everything in Covington and you give me everything in Marietta? Well, that might be okay, because you're not going that far anyway, but closer you may say, let's just divide this up. You may divide it up by prices, say, hey, I don't do anything over 200. Well, I don't do anything under 200. Why don't we just split these? Who's it going to hurt? The public. And our number one rule, protect the public. That's not protecting them. Restrictions are the same thing. Tie-in agreements, that's saying, all right, if you use this closing attorney, you must use this title company. No, RESPA says you get to choose your service providers. That's why it's there. All right, a little thing on equal housing opportunity. What you need to know, we've already gone through fresh corn. This is dealing with fresh corn. And yeah, this is all fresh corn plus a little bit with Americans with Disability. And that, if you're selling just a used house, that's not going to be an issue. This is more of an issue with like this building. We're a public accommodation. The public's coming in and out of here. 13% of the public got some kind of disability. So there's 13% chance that somebody's coming in here. Half of those, you can see their disability, maybe a wheelchair. So 6% of the people we're likely to deal with could be in a wheelchair. I need to get them in here. I don't want to see them drive by and look at me and say, I can't get in your building. I wanted to sell my house and I wanted you to do it. Well, fix your doors, make the ramps. You're a public accommodation. A lot of rules that go with that, but in most of the stuff you're dealing with, you're not going to have to fool with it. Fair housing, in our advertising, we did this in pre-license. A lot of words you can't use. The bold ones, not acceptable. Let's see if we got some bold ones here. No AIDS. Oh, we're hitting a couple of them there. Let's just don't go there. Let's just, you know what you shouldn't be saying. This is just a cue one here. A maintenance man at a property told the people walking by, it's only real Americans live here. Well, they thought, well, I'm not a real American. I can't live there. Well, that's discrimination. The word is per se. That means pretty much as is. Just because you said it, it is illegal. There's our fresh corn. Y'all know that already. We're not going to drill you on that. On pre-license, we'd go over this about twice. This is just where y'all work. We have one out here. This is required in every office. You got to have this poster. I've had so many people tell me, yeah, you got to have this logo on all your advertising too. Well, read this right here. Logo not required on advertising. That's the rule. Even though some people say, yeah, you got to have that. No, you don't. But you do have to have the poster in your office. Blockbusting, steering. We've talked about that, y'all. Blockbusting, that's, guess who's moving in the neighborhood? You better get out while you can. We've got a map in pre-license on a redlining in Alabama. Steering, well, you wanna rent an apartment in this complex, and you come in and you got 4 little kids with you, and they say, well, all the kids are down in this building, that's where you need to be. Well, I may not wanna be around here, I got enough kids, I don't wanna be around anymore. But that's steering you down to where people are like you. Distractions. Oh, this is when you go in to assess the house for them. Some people have habits that other people don't like. One of the examples on here is a room with just deer heads all around it. Some people might not like that. If you're going to put this house up for sale, let's get the deer heads down. Let's don't do anything that's going to turn people off. These are some really bad real estate photos you might want to look at. My favorite pet peeve on this is somebody will do a picture of the half bath, because you know a lot of houses have a little half bath under the steps. And you know, what are you going to shoot, the mirror or the toilet? Well, they'll choose the toilet. And that'll be, most of their picture will be this toilet, and the lid will be up. I don't like that. And especially it's your third picture. You click, 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 and okay, I'm off to the next one. Into the mind of the seller. This is a little cute little video about this seller. His house is the nicest one on the market, and I want you to do an open house every weekend. I want you to work for half commission, and I want a report from you every day. We went through this. This is the checklist we just did. Misleading advertising. These are, you got to tell the truth. And some people will say, great view of the ocean. But the great view of the ocean, you've got to go stand on the roof. That's misleading. All right. How did we do? Did we meet our objections? Objectives, not objections. That's another thing. We got to meet objections. How to get over those. But our objectives was, did we prepare for a listing appointment?
Yes.
We didn't do a listing presentation. We didn't do that, but I think we
We
could.
didn't cover it.
Yeah, we just, we really, that's more of a group activity where you can watch others doing it and learn from them. But just 2 of us here, 3 of us, we need more people to actually do one and see it. We know all about our fair housing and antitrust laws. That's left over from pre-license. And property disclosure, we went through all of those. So I think we met all our goals.
Yes.
And this is a cute one. We're not going to look at it because, well, I found out when I put people's videos up, I'm in copyright violation.
Okay.
And some of the videos I put out on YouTube, I'll get a copyright claim. So I had to go back and cut out. This is a little video about when Barney Fife got his real estate license. You can just imagine how that went.
Ah, that's cute.
There we are, and we finished right on time.